Do you have a question?
The question is, what do you think would happen to stock if Elon left? Let's say in the short term. Let's talk about short term first. What do you think would happen to the stock price if Elon all of a sudden said, you know what, we couldn't come to an agreement, and I'm taking my talents somewhere else?
I was thinking about this over the weekend. I would say at minimum a 50% drop. Well, no, let me rephrase that. At minimum a 33% drop, up to 50% drop. And the way I came up with those numbers
Fibonacci.
is is random number generator. That's how I came up with them. I think about how much of the evaluation is based on expectation of future earnings, and a lot of those are avenues which haven't been even realized yet. And I think a lot of that is based on sentiment of trust in the CEO. And I don't think that those aspects, if he leaves, would be valued nearly as much. So if you took current day earnings, um, and possible earnings growth over the next year, if you just looked at that, right? I mean, the stock would just be valued at like, I don't know off the top of my head, it would be like $100 or less, right? Just based on how much money they make now, how much money they make next year, sort of reasonable growth. And everything on top of that is based on these bigger, bigger aspects, robotaxi, Optimus, etc. And if he goes, those will be massively devalued. I have no, that I'm highly confident of that. Now, how much that contributes to the share price is somewhat debatable, but I would say it's a few hundred billion. And so I think that would be almost instantly removed in the course of a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good, I see your reasoning. That's probably a good estimate. But let's hear what Omar also says. Omar, welcome. What do you think would happen to the Tesla stock price if Elon couldn't come to terms on his compensation package and left?
Well, the stock would go down. I think that's pretty much a given. I don't think it's going to happen, but there would be a massive move to the downside, obviously.
Thank you. So you agree that directionally with Machine put some specifics around how much it would go down, shared his reasoning. Do you have an estimate of how much it would go down? Or when you say, I don't think it's going to happen, is that a 0% probability you're assigning, or is it like unlikely?
I mean, I'd give it like maybe a 3% chance of happening or something like that. But so there's a few different kinds of departures, right? So you can have an amicable departure. That's obviously preferable to the market. If you have a contentious departure, which it sounds like this is kind of what that would be, then that is even worse, right? Like you saw Elon's ability to say, "Hey, okay, we're buying Twitter. Can some of you guys come help me? Take a look at the code, review employees, whatever." In a contentious breakup, you could have potentially poaching of employees, him trying to screw over the company, him dumping his shares, that kind of thing. And that's potentially another level of risk compared to an amicable departure.
Machine, do you agree with all that?
Yeah, I think so. It's not clear to me if it's amicable. And there was talk, for instance, that maybe he steps down as CEO and he's just chief product officer or some other title. Why he would do that? Because the reason he would leave is because he doesn't have enough equity in the big picture, long-term product pipelines that he believes can be highly valuable. Robotaxi and the AI, applied AI on hardware, Optimus, etc. And he would simply want to do those things somewhere else. And so I just don't see how he would be motivated to be in charge of those things at Tesla if he's actually going to go somewhere else where he can own more of it and promote it there, recruit people there. So it's hard for me to see, like, it can be amicable in terms of no one says anything bad, But I don't see how he stays on and also doesn't start a competitor. It just seems like he wants to have an AI company that is going to handle a lot of these big pipelines and products and have ownership of it. And if it's not Tesla, it's going to be somewhere else. And if it's somewhere else, that's not good for Tesla. And it seems like it's going to be XAI. That's his hedge.
I mean,
Okay.
this is a ridiculous conversation. He's
Hold
obviously not
on.
going to leave Tesla.
Well,
Like,
I think everyone agrees with you on that, right? Everyone agrees with you that it's highly unlikely that Elon would leave Tesla. And I think the estimates I've heard range from 0% likely to, 10, 11% likely. That's all I heard. And you said 3, so you're kind of on the lower end of the median. But everyone agrees with you on that. But it is a risk. Like it's not 0%, right? It's not 0%. It's maybe a couple percent, maybe 5, 10%. It's probably good to talk about. Now, on the other hand, let's talk about compensation structure. Machine, what do you think will be the comp structure that appeases both the shareholders, the board, and also Elon? And I guess we have to also think about courts. What do you think that looks like?
I'm not an expert in this area. I don't know Texas law, what can be done in Texas. I think the thing that would appease everyone the most would be if his increase in ownership of the company, or excuse me, increase in control of the company doesn't go proportionally with increased dilution to the same level. I don't think people, the shareholders, the board would want to dilute the company so much that it would take to get him to 25% ownership just via shares. And so I think the structure would have to be somehow he gets increased control through a second level of class of shares, which I know you can't. Like I thought in Delaware you couldn't do right once the company's already formed and went IPO. But I don't know in Texas. Like to me, that would be the way that would be most friendly to everyone. I just don't know if you can do that in Texas. I find the just diluting everyone to get them 25%. There's gonna be a lot of resistance to that.
I mean, if the alternative is that he leaves, even if you hear some resistance, it's going to happen.
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
yeah, no, I'm not saying it wouldn't. I just think I don't know. There'd be a lot of lawsuits, a lot of commotion. Maybe it still happens. It just doesn't seem like that would be a pleasant road to go down, in my guess. But yes, would it be better than him leaving? Yeah, I think so. In terms of the valuation of the company, yeah.
I just think people are just focusing on a lot of noise. I don't think Elon's going to leave Tesla. I don't think this is really all that relevant. The reason why he wrote that tweet is simply because he was talking to the lawyers in the case, and they said, look, she doesn't think that you deserve this compensation plan. She doesn't think that it was fair because she thinks that you love Tesla so much that you were never going to leave. Even though he said, I'm going to leave after the Model 3 ramp. She says, but then he said, I would always be in there in some capacity, blah, 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 blah. So she said, you're not really going to leave Tesla. So this is not really needed to incentivize you. So he was talking to the lawyers. They were talking about this issue and what to move forward. They already told him he was going to lose the case before he lost it. They're smart. They figured it out. So they said, look, you're probably going to lose. This is why you're going to lose. This is what she's going to say. And so you need to basically set up a framework for this to be justified because legally, the directors have a fiduciary obligation to the shareholders. They must give a fair compensation plan. They cannot overcompensate you. They need to give you really the minimum of what is necessary to meet those objectives. So you need to provide a justification for that. And I think that's pretty much why he made the tweet. It doesn't really mean that, he's going to leave or anything like that, but the justification needs to be there that he needs to be incentivized, or else, well, why not build it under XAI where he has control? Why not build it under X where he has control? Why not build it under SpaceX? So that's sort of a legal justification he's trying to provide. Now, in reality, This guy owns billions, hundreds of billions of dollars of Tesla stock. Okay. You see these people in the room freaking out over their 5 shares. Imagine what this guy feels like with $100 billion of Tesla stock. You think he's just going to let someone else do it after everything they've done for years with FSD? Just, okay, whatever. Optimus, someone else will figure it out. I don't think so. He needs to, from a legal perspective, say, yes, I could leave, I could go somewhere else, and I want to have control over the company. But again, this is really all just sort of drama, noise that's probably going to be worked out in very mundane legal ways that aren't all that relevant. I think, if anything, this has just shown how committed he really is to Tesla. I mean, he wants a bigger equity stake, he wants control. He understands how important the technology they're developing is going to be. So there does seem to be a lot of
Right.
confusion about it. And honestly, I didn't get it either until we found out this court decision. Now it all makes sense. And, he said he's talking to the lawyers. The lawyers probably told him to write this tweet in essence to provide the legal justification for their appeal or any further sort of action on this.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Omar, thank you for clarifying and articulating it. If Meta has any comments on the topic, he's welcome to share.
I have a quick question. Omar, when you're talking about the tweet, are you talking about the tweet where you said that would be nice in response to he should be compensated?
I'm talking about the reply to Yashu where he went into more detail about it. And he said, I'm uncomfortable growing Tesla to be an AI and robotics leader unless I have some control.
Oh yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's also like I'm just coming from a personal perspective, not a legal or other perspective. But I think it's okay to say Tesla's mission was sustainable energy. While Optimus is easy to do because of the way FSD is being done, I don't know if that's like required as part of the mission. So if we're expanding the scope of the mission, it's okay for the CEO to say, well, if I'm going to expand the scope of the expectations that that you have of me to achieve yet another impossible goal, AGI, I want to be compensated for that, and I want to have some control over it.
I mean, I really see it as in my best interest for Musk to have 25% control of the company, whether it's through super voting shares or whatever. I want Elon to be making the critical decisions, not Ross Gerber, not Gary Black, not Vanguard. I want Elon Musk to make the decisions. I want long term shareholders and long term thinking driving the strategic plan of this company, not short term pressures and stock prices. All these dumb fucks and their dumb ideas. Oh, we need to buy back the stock. Oops. Well, turns out we were actually going into some really tough times. That would have been a horrible idea. Oh, we need to split the stock. Oh, that didn't work. Well, we should have done a bigger split. Oh, we need to advertise. That'll fix everything. Oh, okay. Well, they started advertising and it didn't change anything, but that's because they're running the wrong kind of ads. Not an online ad, not a YouTube ad. You need a Super Bowl ad. It needs to be bigger. They need to be spending more. These are the guys who, think they really have some great advice to give to pump up the stock price. And that's all they care about is really their stupid idea to pump up the stock price and not actually building a great business long term. So I want Elon to have control, not majority control. Like he said, 25%. We can still overrule him. If he goes crazy, we can still fire him if, 50% of the shareholders vote against him. But it's really in our best interest as shareholders. I feel that it maximizes the shareholder value of the company. So it really doesn't cost us anything. And if they say that we cannot pay him, even though 73% of us voted for it, if they're taking our ability away to compensate the CEO, and you may say, hey, look, it's too much, but I mean, this guy's the richest guy in the world. He has hundreds of billions of dollars. $1 million, $10 million, even $100 million is not going to make a fucking difference in his life, right? So we need an equity compensation plan that actually gives him what he wants, which is not even more money, but just control, just an assurance that after building Tesla into an AI and robotics giant, he won't get fired because Ross Gerber had a bad day or something.